ladies, and welcome back. We are more than halfway through our term together online. Hopefully, this is going to be the last term online. But this is going to be another short class, short just like the last one that we did on costuming. And quite similar to last class as well in terms of the things that we're going to cover. The only difference is that this week we are going to learn a few things that I'm going to be able to put in a quiz. I just want to really congratulate everybody on the work that they submitted last week. It made me so happy. I love seeing your ideas come out into play, and everybody did a great effort and did such a good job on the homework, and I cannot tell you how happy it made me. So hopefully we go along the same this week. I might ask some of you all for permission to share your work with the rest of your classmates to motivate each other. But I was very, very, very happy to see the different ideas and all the creativity come out with the costumes from last week. So this week we are going along the similar lines, and we're looking at set and staging, which is a little bit more complicated, but it's fine. So it's quite similar. We know, we're learning now that set design is also called scenic design. And all of this is part of stagecraft. As the name suggests, stagecraft is anything, the craft of the stage. So all technical things, anything that needs to be designed or created for a performance is called stagecraft. So everything from lights to sound, costuming, all of these things make up the category of stagecraft. And of course, sets and scenery are more or less one and the same. So take note of that, because it's definitely going to come up in the quiz. So I said designers, among the other designers, and will work with the production team, as we discussed before. So the set designer will do, of course, their research and come up with their ideas. But if we have a dramaturg, then the dramaturg will be the person who gives advice to the set designer and says, well, in 1950, houses looked like this, or they use this type of furniture, or poor people will have this type of dwelling because of the social circumstances of that time, things like that. So the set designer will just come up with the idea, and the dramaturg will make sure that the idea is appropriate, or that it makes sense and reflects what needs to be reflected effectively. And of course, so once the set designer or the scenic designer has finalized their design, they will supervise the actual construction of the set, the construction and dressing of the set. And as we discussed in a previous class, set dressing has to do with adding texture, the little details. So things like putting books on a bookshelf in a set, putting a sheet on a bed, putting pictures in frames, things like that are referred to as dressing the set. So just putting in the little details, while set constructors will just make the kind of general structure of it. Right, so the set designer will have to do things like, of course, reading and researching. So all of the designers will have to read the script. All of them will have to attend rehearsals to make sure they know what they're doing. They can't just go into it blindly. They have to know the script, they have to know the characters, they have to know the story in order to know what designs will make sense. They create an aesthetic, so they will pick the colors, the materials that so the director will come and say, this is my idea. I want it to be very modern. I want it to look real cool. I want it to look hip. So then the set designer will be like, okay, so we'll use a lot of straight lines. We'll use bright colors like red, or we'll use pastel colors because pastel colors are in style. Things like that. So they will look at the aesthetic. They will, of course, give sketches and designs as they are the designer. They will also find the materials, so the wood, the paint, the furniture, all of these things. They'll find the things that need to be put in the set or need to be used to make the set. They will also, as I said, supervise the construction of the set itself to make sure that it's coming along properly. And they will work within the budget. So the producer will say, okay, for this play, we have $1,000. So our set budget is going to be $300. So the set designer has to make sure that they don't come with a set that's going to cost $4,000. Because if you only have $300, you can't make your money multiply, right? Okay, so set functions to do what? To convey setting, of course. So we know that setting is different from set. So the setting is where the play is, including the era, the location, and set is literally just the physical infrastructure. So in conveying setting, a set might tell you whether which era it belongs to, and which country as well, because obviously a house in England does not necessarily, well, definitely does not look like a house in Trinidad. So things like that. Set, the most important function of set is to tell you where the play is, even if it's set in purgatory. If the set makes it look quite desolate, things like that. Era and period, of course, will have to do with the setting as well. So, as I mentioned, houses now don't look like how houses used to look 20 years ago or even 10 years ago, because all of these things come in and out of style. So the set might show symbols and themes. So for instance, if you have a play that is about the environment, then you're probably going to have, even if it's not necessarily set in a forest, you're going to have a lot of green, or you're going to have a lot of trees or something like that, to represent themes. So of course, a set could be realistic, as in it will be a house, or it will just be a landscape or something like that. It will convey aesthetic. So as we spoke about, if you want the play to look rustic, if you want it to look modern, if you want it to look bright, if you want it to look gloomy, all of these things will be part of the aesthetic. And it will also convey style. So if you have a play that is supposed to be very realistic, then you'll have a realistic set. If you have a play that is supernatural, then you'll have a set that reflects that. Yeah. So things to consider in the aesthetic for the set would be the color, of course, because colors are associated with moods and they also create symbolism. So, of course, if you have a set that has a lot of red in it, it's going to be associated with intense emotions. It might be associated with patriotism because red is our national color, things like that. The stage, of course, you're going to have to look at what type of stage you are using. So whether it's an arena stage, a proscenium stage, as we will talk about most of the time, whether it's an outdoor setting, things like that really have determined the aesthetic of the set. The condition. So of course, if you want a house to look like a new house, or you want it to look like it's been lived in, and yeah, so things will either look brand new or they look used, and of course that would indicate a lot about the story or the people who live there. So a mansion absolutely does not look the same as a board house. So you would not, if the play is set in a board house, then you're not going to have a mansion on stage. That would not make sense. And the practicalities, of course. So things like if you have a play that is, each scene is set somewhere different, then you have to have a set that is very easy to move, very easy to make transitions in and out. If you have a play where you have a lot of quick transitions, and you cannot have big set items because you need to be able to change the set quickly. And of course, so the set designer will have to look at the movements that the director has arranged for the actors. So of course they have to be able to move in the set. You can't have a nice, beautiful, big house and then the actors cannot move because there's too much furniture. And of course, you can't have a platform that's too high without a railing because you'll run the risk of an actor falling off, that kind of thing. Okay, so let's look very briefly at the elements of a set. So this first one we're going to look at is the backdrop or backcloth, which is quite easily just a piece of cloth that you hang at the back drop. It drops, so it's a cloth at the back. So it's either you paint it like a mural or you just have light or projections shown onto it. And projections are very common, especially in modern theater now, because it's all about technology. And of course projections are free, as opposed to having to build a set will cost money. So this is an example. That big cloth in the back there is a backdrop that is painted to look like a meadow. I'm also going to show you a video next of where they used projections as the backdrop. Right, so the next thing we're looking at are levels, which we all know: high, medium, low. And levels are very important so things don't look just plain, so they don't look just like all the same. It gives you something interesting to look at. And if you see here in this set, they create levels in many ways. Not only do they have levels happening behind here, but they also have a box in front. So you'll have high, you'll have in between high, you'll have an actor very low, and then you also create levels with the blocking. If you look at the three people here, that's me. If you look at the three people here, of course, they're actually at three different levels, and here as well. So in terms of the levels on set itself, you can create it with ramps, steps, scaffolding, furniture, anything that creates different levels, basically. So you always want to aim for a set that has many levels. So you see even here, you have a step and a little box and a ramp that all cause you to have this beautiful picture here where all the actors are very visible because they're not all bunched up on the same level, one behind the other. So this is a really beautiful way to do a set. Right, the next one we're going to look at is flats. Flats is just a word basically for a wall. It represents a wall. And then a series of flats will come together to make a run. So you see here, this thing here is a flat, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 flats come together to make a run. And what will happen is that you'll have to brace it up with some way so that it can actually stand up. So basically, walls in theater sets are called flats. So this is a picture of a real life example. This is in Aprimo Bowl, where you have flats coming together to make a run. And then of course you have entrances and exits with curtains and things like that as well. So let's look at how, as a set designer or a dramaturg who is researching different types of architecture, how you're going to put these designs down for the creative team to see. So the first one would be thumbnail sketches, which is basically a rough sketch. It's not a finished sketch, it's just really to show where things would be, just a general idea of how things would look. And it's really not detailed at all, and that is absolutely fine. It's just a rough sketch basically, but we call it a thumbnail sketch. So if you see here, it's drawn to scale. You will know that there's a table. You know that there's somebody at the head of the table, there's plates on the table, and there's windows all around. There's a chandelier. So you could be able to tell that from this rough sketch alone. Then we have renderings. So a rendering is the finished sketch with color. So that will show you exactly where things would be and the different textures that we have. So rendering is just a lot more detailed than a thumbnail sketch. So this is one example here. You see, you will know for sure that this little stool is going to be there. That is going to be a microphone, all these things. And then you know that the walls are going to be yellow. It's going to have some blue and red accents. And then this is another example as well. These are very elaborate sets, of course. Then you have a floor plan, which is basically an overhead view. So it will show you the dimensions of the stage and just a general idea of what is going to be where. So you see from this floor plan, there's a sofa here, a sofa there, there's a carpet there, and another couch there. There's a dining table here with chairs all around it. There's a sink. There's a bedroom. There's a TV. I guess you all don't know that TV used to look like this one once upon a time. There's a plant. So you could see this is as though you were standing above the stage and you're looking down onto it, and you just get an idea of where everything is going to be located. So you're not actually drawing it in a three-dimensional way. But a model is, so this might look like a real set, but this is actually made of like, I don't know, Play-Doh and thing. So a model is a 3D equivalent. So that's where you actually, I mean, you don't necessarily have to do this, but this is where you'll actually create a mini version of what the set would look like in real life. And of course, we learned last week about mood boards, and you can do the same with set. In the same way that you have sketches, you can also just depict set with a mood board. So you look at things that reflect the ideas of what you want the set to look like. So these are just a few pictures of some sets that I took when I went to different performances. This one is actually in a panyard in Port of Spain that they converted into a theater space just for this performance. So, and they did it very beautifully. You can see they have a painted backdrop here. They also have the floor that is painted, and it really gives you a nice bright atmosphere. Nice ambience, a very kind of old-timeish aesthetic as well. This is another one. This is quite an elaborate set. This is an Aprima bowl. You see a lot of greenery. The houses are very realistic, so you get the sense that, you know, it's a community setting, that kind of thing. This is an example of where you use projections. So it makes the children look as though they are in a stadium, or it will at least symbolize that whatever they are doing is specific to a stadium. So you kind of just imagine that they are set there. And of course, they would not have had to build anything, and they have grass as the flooring for the set as well. So you know for sure that they're supposed to be in a stadium, wherever this is based. And of course, they would not have had to build a stadium on stage. You just get a projection. It's free. But the downside to projections is that the actors will cast shadows on it, which will not be very good. And this one here, you see we have things like chest, creating levels, very important. A little coconut there, and they also have a projected backdrop. So this would be a live backdrop, so it's looking as though the ocean is actually moving in the background. And of course, so they would not have had to have a real live ocean on stage, so they just had a free projection. When I say free, I mean you don't have to pay for the material. Now you just go on the internet and pull up the projection. This is another really cool one. This is the same as when I showed you from before, but there's a car on stage. So some of the things happen in the car. So it's really, I mean, the nice thing about this project that we're doing is that we're not doing it in real life. So you don't even have to worry about things like budget. You could literally just do whatever you want. Imagine the most expensive, most elaborate set or the most basic set as you want, and it really doesn't make a difference because it's just the imagination. This is another example. This is a set for a play that I was in. And you see many levels being created with steps and ramps. And this is interesting because this play was actually set in the forest, but because they did a contemporary version of it to make it look very modern, they just had a very plain set. So it's more like a concrete jungle. I don't know if you'll ever heard that term, but a concrete jungle than an actual forest with like leaves and vines and stuff. This one, on the other hand, is for a play called Waiting for Godot, and this play specifically has a very minimal set, where the only set piece is supposed to be this dead tree, and it's because the play is set in purgatory, so it's supposed to give this kind of feeling of, I guess, loneliness or desolation, death, that kind of thing. So there's literally nothing really going on in this set but this big, tall, dead tree. Right, so I did say that this was going to be a short class, and there we are. We are at the end. So homework, quite similar to last week, is you are going to look at the descriptions of the set that are in the script itself. What I've done is that I have done some work for you. I've spoon fed you all a little bit. I made a document with all the descriptions that I could find from in the set. Um, so you're just gonna look at where the things that the playwright has described about where the play is set, and you're gonna use that. Now you can use this as much as you want. You can do it exactly as the playwright says. You can just use that as an idea. You adapt some parts of it, or you could just not use it at all. But what I would like you to do is basically come up with your ideas of where you envision this play being set. And you're either going to do similar to last week, you can do a mood board, you can do sketches, a floor plan, or if you cannot do any of these things, at least a written description, a very detailed description would be nice of how you picture the set for the play looking. And I really want you all to understand that I don't expect you to be architects. I don't expect you to be master set designers or artists or anything like that. I myself am horrible at art. I cannot draw a stick man. I cannot draw anything. So I am very highly impressed by anything that you all give to me. And even so, you don't necessarily need to be artistic because, as I said, it's really just about your vision and your ideas and bringing them to life. So don't feel pressured to say, oh, my sketch is looking like mess or anything like that. I just want to see your ideas. And even if I can't see it in images, I want to see it through how you describe it in words, because everybody has different talents. Drawing might not be one of your talents. I very strongly feel that, but I can use words. I can use my imagination. Everybody has a great mind. So yeah. So as I said, I've made a document with the playwright's descriptions of the set in the Master of Carnival. So you can use that. Just at least check it out. If not, just use your own ideas of what you see Del Pino's house looking like. You're either going to do a mood board, you're going to do sketches, so that those could be thumbnail sketches or actual renderings, a floor plan, or a written description of your vision, or you can do a combination of any of these. So in addition to that document, I've also uploaded templates for the sketches and the floor plan. If there's anything that you want to do that doesn't have a template, that just means you're free to do it in whatever format you want. I mean, you're free to do anything in whatever format you want, but if you find it helpful to use the floor plan template or the sketch template to put your work against, then you can do that as well. But literally, there's no real requirements for this assignment. I just want to see your ideas come into life in a way that you'd be able to present to a director and say, does this set work for you? So yeah, that is it. That's it. I just want you all to do your best. Just do your best and I will appreciate it. Thank you very much for paying attention. As usual, if you have any questions, queries, concerns, or comments, my messages are open and so is my email. Thank you.